Hepiniz tekrar hoş geldiniz. Şimdiki oturumumuzda Tolgay
Welcome everyone. Now in this session, Tolgay Hıçkıran will be together with us. He is the co-founder of Codeo. In this session, he will talk about
VFX Graph kullanarak kısa havuzu tasarlama hakkında bir workshop
he's
yapacak.
he's gonna
Hoş
he's gonna
geldiniz
make his
tekrar.
presentation
Hoş
on
buldum Serhat
VFX
Bey, nasılsınız?
Studios.
İyiyim, teşekkür ederim. Siz nasılsınız?
Sağ
Welcome
olun,
to
teşekkür
our
ederim.
Hazır
session.
olduğunuzda ekranınızı
I hope you are doing
başlayabilirim.
fine. Whenever you feel ready, you can start sharing your screen and
Arkadaşlara
you may
söyleriz.
start. Welcome
Bugün bir
everyone.
workshop daha yapalım dedik.
Yeah, we're gonna
Basitçe bir
have a
workshop ama
workshop
kısa
here.
bir workshop olacak.
It's
Belki yarın
also
öbürsü gün
very
graph kullanımı mutlaka
informative one.
VFX
It's a
graph kullanımı
simple
mutlaka
workshop, but it's a very
kısa
informative
kullanalım
one.
aslında
Maybe you
diyebiliriz. Graph
haven't made
tasarlaması
use of
tarafından.
VFX.
Bildiğiniz
We
gibi
will talk
aslında
about some
sizin de
differences.
kullanabildiğiniz iki
So
farklı
as you know, there are two
visual effect
different visual
tool'u var.
effects
Bunlardan
creation
biri
tools. One
particle
of them
effects,
is particle
yani
effect.
particle'ları üretebildiğimiz
I
particle
mean, we
sistemler.
produce particles
Diğeri
in
de
those
visual
particle
effects.
systems, and the
Bunlar
other one
farklı.
is visual
En
effects.
temel fark
And the
aslında
main difference
CPU
between
bazlı
the
bir
two is one is
oluşturalım
CPU
istedik.
based, the other
Particle
one is
effects
GPU based.
uzunca bir
Particle
süredir
effects, as you all know, has been available for a
VFX
long
Graph'te
time, and VFX
versiyonlarından beri
Scratch since
kullanılıyor.
2018 it has been in
2020
use.
versiyonundan beri
So
kullanılıyor.
since its
Dolayısıyla
2020 up
şimdi
version, it has been available.
paketlerimi göstereceğim size.
Now I'm gonna show
Dikkat
my
etmeniz gerekiyor.
packages,
Beni
which
takip
pack
edebilirsiniz. Elinizde
packages to
herhangi
use.
bir
Now you can
materyal
follow me.
ihtiyacınız
You
yok beni
don't need
takip
any
etmeniz için.
materials in hand to follow me.
2018.4
So
üzeri bir versiyonuyla
218.4 Unity version.
klasik
Yeah,
UIP
you can open an
template'lar
empty
kullanıyorum.
project and
VFX
you
UIP
can
template'ları
follow
indirebilirsiniz
HDRP with
isterseniz.
template if you would like to follow.
2D Sprite kullanıyorum. Bu
I use
sizin
2D
kullanmanız
Sprite.
şart değil.
It's not
Ben
necessary for
kullandığım
you to
Sprite
use
olarak
it,
takip
but
ederseniz
there are some
sevinirim
necessary
size.
items that you need to use. I'm gonna count them on right now.
Visual Effects Graph'i indirmeniz
Visual
gerekiyor.
Effects Graphic,
Zaten
you need
içinde
to
zaten
download
shader
it.
graph var. Yani
In
shader
under
graph kendisi
dependencies,
gelecek.
there is shader graph. It's gonna be
Codeo'yu
downloaded.
kullanacağım.
And also I'm gonna
Codeo'yu
use Pro
kullanmanıza
Builder.
gerek yok.
You don't
Eğer
need to
Pro
use
Builder
it
kullanırsanız
either, but
benimle
if you
beraber
use Pro Builder together with
çok
me,
basit bir havuz
you
üreteceksiniz.
are gonna produce a
Kendiniz
very
dizayn
simple
ettirip
pool,
verinizi kullanabilirsiniz bu
and you
arada.
can make use of your
Onun
own
dışında
data.
particle sistemde de default particle
And
kullanacağım
also
zaten.
I'm gonna
Dolayısıyla
use
hiçbir şeye
default
ihtiyacınız
particle
yok.
under
Bu
particle
default
systems.
imajı
So
asla
as you see here,
unutmuyorum. Şuradan göstereyim size. Şu an bunları kullanıyorum.
now I'm
Visual
using
Effects
those
Graph,
that you
Visual Effects
see
Graph.
on the screen.
Onunla birlikte
Visual
shader
Effect
graphi'miz
Graph,
ve
Shader
klasik
Graph,
graph
and
ve
2D
Pro Builder var.
Sprite.
Yani
And
4 tane
also I have Pro
packet'le
Builder. So I have 4 packages in
kurmuş
hand,
olabilirsiniz projenizi.
and you can install your project with those
Ee,
4
Şimdi
things.
projemiz bu. Ben size
So this is our
ne
empty project.
üreteceğimizi de göstereyim.
I'm gonna show you what we are
Aklınızda en
gonna
azından
produce.
bilgi olarak
You can
bulunsun.
keep it in your mind
Şöyle bir
as
şey
some
üreteceğiz
information.
arkadaşlar.
We're gonna
Gerçekten de
produce something
söylerseniz
like that. It doesn't seem
kesinlikle
to be
yapılması gereken
realistic, and it's very
belli
simple.
öğrenim düzeyleri olacak. Yani
There
bu
are
şeyleri
some
nasıl kullanabiliriz?
learning
Visual Effects'i
levels
nasıl
how to
kullanabiliriz?
use and how to produce
Çok
visual
teorik
effects.
giriş. Daha
So this is
sonrasında
just the beginning.
görsel olarak
Then
güzelleştirebiliriz bunu.
later on you can
Gördüğünüz
make
gibi
it
bir visual
nicer
effect'im var.
visually. So you
Burada
have a
iskelet
visual effects and you
teması
see
var.
a water flow
Burada
here.
iskeleliği de var bunun.
So it's also
Aşağıda
random
şuradaki
flow.
suyun damlama efektini
And also you can
simulte
see the
etmek için
effect
bazı
of
texture'lar var.
tapping of water. There are some texture moving
Dış
right
kısmı
there.
bir
And
havuzun
also
içinde
outside of
kullanacağız
it,
ve
you see just
havuzu
a stone wall you can
çok
see.
basit şekilde
So the pool
kurduğumuz
has
bir
been
prototipleme diye düşünebilirsiniz
simulated
bunu.
here. It's something like a prototype.
Zemininde de bir
And on my
grass
ground,
efekti var.
you
Başka
see the
efekt
grass
yoktu.
effect and nothing else.
Bu şekilde bir water fountain
So this is
üreteceğiz.
something like a water fountain. We're going to produce it.
Dolayısıyla ben şimdi
Therefore,
tekrar yeni bir sahne açıyorum.
now I open a new scene.
Yeni sahnemde çalışmaya
And on my
başlayacağım.
new scene,
Öncelikle
I
bir
start
zemin
working.
oluşturayım kendime.
Now I would like to make a ground for myself.
Transformer'ı resetliyorum.
I
Orijinal.
reset the transformer.
Şöyle bize 5 metre 5 metre bir alan çıkaralım.
5 meter by 5 meter space we have right here.
Sonrasında VFX graph'imi oluşturacağım.
Then for my
Sağ
VFX
üst
graph,
köşeden bakın.
I
Visual
just
Effects,
click on the right button.
çıkmaz.
If you haven't downloaded Visual Effects, you can't see that. And I click on Visual Effects right now.
Visual Effect ekleniyor. Bunu
So
yapabilmemiz
to
için
my
bir
game objective, Visual Effect is being added.
boş bir game object.
And there's also another possibility to do that.
Component'tır zaten.
Visual Effects is already a component, and you can add it as a component.
Daha sonrasında bakın bir
Then later on, you need an asset.
Visual Effect asset'ine ihtiyaç
It's
duydum.
an asset of Visual Effects.
Dolayısıyla ilk önce bir Visual Effect
Therefore,
asset'i üreteceğim.
you need to produce a Visual Effect
İlk önce bir
asset.
tane folder üretiyorum.
You open a folder right now.
İçinde de
And into that folder,
bir Visual Effect üreteceğim.
we will make some visual effects inside it. And we will make Visual Effect Graph.
Bunun da ismine
And its name is gonna be Indieway.
ve sağ altta
And
zaten
right at the bottom,
döneceğini aşağı yukarı gösteren bir
you're gonna see the
grafik
shape
veriyor size.
approximately.
Şimdi bunu
It's something like a
Visual
graph.
Effect'ime bağladıktan sonra
And if you,
sahnede de
when you
göreceksiniz.
connect it to your visual effect, you're gonna see it on your scene.
Çalışmaya başlıyor.
Now your visual
Şu an
effects
gördüğünüz,
have started to work.
X ve Y eksenini tanımlayan iki
So
tane
on
aslında rengimiz
X
var.
and
Bu Visual
Y
Effects
axis,
dolayısıyla.
we have two
Bu
balances.
da
It's
tracer'ın
called
Y
default
veya
texture. So it
hayatına devam
spreads
ediyor
default
Visual Effects.
textures and it continues its
İlk aşama
life.
yani Visual
When you
Effects'ini
open
göreceksiniz.
first the visual effects, you're gonna see it first. And later on,
Bunu değiştirmek istiyoruz tabii ki.
if you would like to change it, or your aim is to change it,
İki kere tıkladığımız zaman
when you
Visual Effects
click,
penceresi
when you
açılıyor.
double
Bunun
click,
için bir yere
the visual
koyalım.
effect window is being opened.
Koyalım. Sol tarafta sahnem var.
On
Sağ
the
tarafta
left side, you have your scene, and on the right side, you have your visual effect window.
buradaki girdilerden
And
bahsedelim.
simply, I would like to talk about the inputs here.
Şimdiki okumalarından. Çok basit şunlardan bahsedelim.
So let's talk about those inputs.
Buradaki en tepe noktada, en
At the top
başlangıç noktamız
point,
olan constant spawn rate'imiz
constant spawn rate you see.
anlık olarak 16 tane
And right now, there are 16
16 tane spawn ediyor. 16 tane texture spawn ediyor.
there are 16
Benzer
spawn
şekilde bir
textures.
sonraki aşamada
And
spawn
similarly, in the next phase, there is initialized particle. The order
bizim bir
doesn't change generally.
alanımız var. Bu
We have a
dönme alanı
dogmatic
sonunda
place on
sonrasında
spawn and
doğru
following
bölümünden
spawn.
sonra limitage'imiz var. Bu
We
limitage'imiz
have a
spawn
limitage,
particle kısmında
and
capacity.
it's the initialized, under the initialized
Şimdi
particle
mesela
part,
buraya
it is the
yanlış bir şey
capacity.
yazarsam,
If I write
bir şey anlayacağım.
500 to
Benim
rate part,
beklentim 500 tane
then
spawn
my
olması
expectation
ya da
is to
aşağıda
make
500 tane
500 spawns.
limit olduğu için
But there
bu
is a
iki
limit of 32.
maksimum aynı
At
anlıkta,
maximum,
aynı frame içinde 32 tane
at
sahne
one
texture
time,
alabilir,
only
almaz
32
olabilir.
textures may
Dolayısıyla bunu
exist.
da
No more than
arttırmam lazım.
32.
Spawn
So
rate'imi
then I would
arttırırsam
like to
daha
increase
fazla
my
texture spawn
capacity if
Bunu
I
ne
increase
kadar
my spawn
arttırırsam,
rate.
mesela 1000 yaparsam
For
bunu,
example, if I make it a
sayı
thousand,
artacak burada.
then the number increases.
Şu an tabii yukarıya doğru bir hareket var. Bu
So
hareketin
there is a
nasıl
movement
sağlayabiliriz? Bu
upwards.
hareketi de buradaki blok sağlıyor.
What
Set
makes
velocity
this movement?
per component. Her bir
From the
komponent
set velocity random per
varsa
component. So
varsa
for per
A ile
component, there is
arasında
a randomity.
paralel yani X, Y, Z, X, Y,
X,
Z olarak
Y, and Z.
üretilen
They
texture
are produced
belli
as
yönlere doğru
X, Y, Z
yöneliyor.
as texture, and this texture
Dolayısıyla
has
burada
been
görebiliyoruz.
sent to different directions.
Onun bir altındaki
And
blokta da
under
set
that,
life
there is
random
another
dedikleri
block named set
ha,
lifetime
doğduktan
random
sonra
uniform.
ne kadar
So
daha
after they were
göreceğini, ne
born,
süre hayatta
how long
kalabileceklerini
can they be
değişken.
willed and how long
Dolayısıyla
can they
burada
survive?
bazı değişiklikler yapacağız zaten.
So we need to make some necessary changes. I'm talking
Eğer
about
ki
those
limitler
briefly.
vermek isterseniz
If you
bazı
would like to
limitler
give some limits,
burada
if you would like to give some bound
insan veya
limits, then
C
from the
limitler
center
olarak
or
limitler
from the
verebilirsiniz.
size part, you can give also
Bu
some
L
limits.
yazan yer
and you see an L letter there, it determines that it's the local thing.
Lokal pozisyonlamada
So you, from the local position, you need to leave.
hatırlarsınız eğer particle system kullandıysanız.
If you have used particle system before, in simulation space, there are local or global spaces. What does it work for?
Meşale var.
For example, you have a torch in your hand. In order to move the torch, there is a particle system on the tip of the torch, and in order to make it follow your torch, it needs to be localized. Or it is in a vehicle exhaust, on the tip of the exhaust, it needs to stay there.
Origination point'i
The system's origination point is not being followed. That means now everything is local, as you see. And following that, we have an update particle block, and to this space, and similarly to those spaces, you can make some additions. And when you press spacebar, there are some blocks accordingly. And when you enter update particle, according to this space, there is a force element here. For example, gravity. We are going to use gravity. So I add it. When I add it, automatically our shape vanishes. And in real time, for example, while calculating the gravity of the Earth, it is 9.81 and it is regarded as the default standard. And you can make it smaller if you like, or similarly, and you can determine the beginning velocity of your element. And I can change it as well. Now I'm changing it, for example, 5 to 7, for example, I change it. Right now, there is a movement upwards. The textures are moving upwards. But in the end, of course, they are beaten to gravity. So because we are designing something like water, then I continue it that way. So the spreading movement of water will be changed afterwards, and also the life cycle and how many seconds are these textures live, they will be changed as well. And if you like, there are some types of output particle that are, you can change the primitive types. They could be in triangle shape, quad shape, and you can change them. And you can, and under shader graph, you can use a VFX asset visually in order to make something different visually, but I'm not doing that right now. So the texture that we are going to use can be determined, as you see. The points that you see, what do they work for? So if you drag and drop, now I can expose my texture outside. This is a default particle, for example. Now I'm going to change the default particle. This is texture 2D. If I want it, I find texture 2D here in the list. And similarly, I take it from here and send it to a down position. And I can say here, now I connect it to that part, as you see here on the slide. And if I change the particle, this is an exposed particle, as you know. And you're going to see it in the editor. And your name, its name can also be changed. For example, water.
değiştirmek isterseniz yaptığınız
And if you would like to change it later
bu
on,
şekilde expose edebiliyorsunuz
some
mesela.
inputs can be exposed as
Burada
shown
tabii
here.
orientation'dan da biraz bahsedeyim.
And I would like to talk about the orientation here. There are some modes here, and mostly used mode is face camera plane. What does it work for? With camera, from which angle you view it, it is parallel to the camera, and you can see the textures. Therefore, it's rotating together with the camera.
Bunu yapmak istemiyorsanız mesela
If you don't like to do that, then you come to face camera position.
main kameranın olduğu tarafa doğru bakmasını sağlayabilir.
Then you can view to the main camera part,
İşte herhangi bir aksa fixleyebiliriz.
and you can also
Her biri farklı tabii ki sonuçlar
fix it
verecek.
to an X. There are going to be different results
Farklı şeyler olması
with your different effects.
atıyorum mesela bir yaprak dökümü efekti yapacaksanız.
For example, if you would like to have the effect of the falling leaves,
Yaprakların sürekli kameraya doğru bakmasını istemezsiniz.
you don't want the leaves to view the camera all the time. So you want the leaves to be rotating. So you need to change the modes. So you can do that with VFX Graph.
Dolayısıyla biraz anlatıyorum.
So I'm talking all about them briefly. And in the size part, I'm gonna make some changes because this dimension is too big here. I'm gonna make it smaller. I will try to make it water particles.
Şöyle epey küçülteceğim. Yani görünmesi çok zor olacak.
So it will be too hard to be visible.
Burada da set color overlay veya
So here set color overlay.
farklı şey yapabiliriz mesela. Buraya yazarak bazı şeyleri değiştirebiliriz.
I can change some components, for example, multiply colors, set color by speed. I'm not gonna talk about all of them right now, but there are really very different functions under it. You can make use of them.
Ben şimdi rengimi değiştireceğim.
Now I'm gonna change my color.
Başlangıcımda herhangi bir alfa
At first,
sıfır olması gibi bir şey söz konusu değil. Su dediğiniz şeyin
it doesn't need to be 0 because water is transparent all the time, but towards the end, because of the A movement, it might be needed to change it. Therefore, when you look at the mode here, I just skip this area and the alpha position will be brought to its maximum.
Şöyle bir fixed color'a döndüreyim.
Now I made it fixed. I just fixed the color.
Şuraya da alfa getirebiliriz. Şu sonlara doğru. Okay. Şimdi rengimiz değişti.
Now our color has changed. Yeah, the amount of water is really less here. So in order to determine the color from outside, from editor side, you can change it right here. Or if you like to change the size in time, you can do the same thing.
Şimdi bir şuna bakacağım ilk önce. Sistemim epey bir uzunca süre hareket ediyor.
Now my system has been moving for a long time, and I can vanish it. They don't need to live forever. So I'm just reduce their life cycles. 5 to 7, I arrange it. 1 by 1.1. I change it.
Evet. Bu şekilde olduğunda
Now you see it on the screen.
gelmeye başladı.
Now it has come to the ground.
Şimdi referansı hatırlarsanız eğer
As you remember the references,
suyun çevreye doğru dağılmış halini gösteriyordum size.
so the water
Burada
was
şöyle bir
spreading
yöntem
around
yapabiliriz. X ve Y ekseni pardon X
on
ve Z eksenindeki
X and Z
velocity'yi
axis.
değiştirebiliriz.
We can
Random
change the
şekilde.
velocity randomly.
Yani belirli bir aralık vereceğim burada. Mesela
There
ne
must be a
vereceğim?
certain
Nokta
gap.
4 yani 40 santim.
For example,
Eksi 40 santim.
0.4 and
Veya 40
minus
santimetre diyebilirim belki.
minus 4
Veya
by
biraz daha
plus
dağıtabilirim.
4,
75 diyelim.
or minus 75 to plus 75.
santimetre çapında bir alana ben bunu
So in an area of 75 centimeters of
göstereyim.
diameter, I would like to spread it.
Görmeniz belki biraz zor. Şöyle
Maybe it's hard for you to see that.
biraz çevreye doğru dönüyor.
Now it's spreading more around, as you see here on the
Bu rengi
screen.
biraz daha seçebilmeniz için ben
In order to
bana
pick the
materyal
color,
ekliyorum alta.
I'm gonna pick the materials here,
Bir tane materyal oluşturuyorum.
and I'm creating a material.
Koyu bir renk yapayım diyeceğim.
I'd like
Açık bir renk.
to make it
Açık bir renk yaparsam
with a
daha
dark
net
color
görünür.
or maybe a light color.
Evet.
Yes.
Şimdi biraz daha en azından görsel olarak algılamaya başladım.
Now you can perceive it visually better.
Evet. Şimdi biraz sayıyı arttıralım.
Now we can increase the number if you like to see more water.
20.000.
For example, 20,000. The rate
Bakın böyle olunca
is.
ne olduğunu görün. Rate çok hızlı.
Now rate is
1000
too
tane
fast,
ulaştığı zaman
but when it
sesi
reaches to
görsel
1,000,
dolayısıyla burada limit
because the
olmayacak.
capacity is limited,
Tabii şimdi ben bunu 100.000 yapacağım.
now I would like to change the capacity to 100,000.
Epey bir
Now you see the difference.
particle görmeye başladım. Çok içeri
Yeah, there are
girdiğiniz zaman bakın
many
yuvarlak
particles
bir şey
right here.
görüyorsunuz.
So when you
Çok
go
küçültmeme rağmen
deeper,
o yuvarlakları
you can
seçebiliyoruz.
see
Burada
the
yapabileceğimiz
round
şey
shaped
bakın.
things.
Ben direkt default particle'ı
What you
kullandım.
can do here, I just use default particle.
Default particle'ı değiştirebiliriz. Yani
Then I can change the default
main
particle,
texture'dan bu
and from main texture,
default particle'ı şeyle gelen normal Unity ile beraber gelen default particle
together with the
değiştirebilirsiniz.
Unity, you can change your
Onunla beraber
default
belki
particle.
biraz daha güzel bir çıktı alabilirsiniz.
And with this, you can have a better output.
Şu rengi biraz açmak istiyorum.
I would like to make the color lighter.
Karanlık oldu sanki.
I think it's too dark now.
Şöyle biraz HDR renklerini hatta. Bir tutam daha. Okey. Biraz daha dağıtabiliriz. Yani
Yeah, you can spread it more, as you see. It depends on what you want to do.
bu şu an 20.000 kaç yaptı?
Now it is
20.000 particle spawnlıyoruz ama 100.000'e de
20,000 particles, but it is limited to 100,000. So there are that it's impossible to produce 1,000 textures.
Şuradan bir bakalım hatta. Mesela 7, 8 ile 6 arasında bir hesaplama
Between
zamanım
6
var.
and 7,
60
I have a
çıktı vereceksem
calculating time.
kullanabileceğim bir bütçe olduğunu görebiliyorum. Bu kadar boyutlu bir
So this is really multidimensional. Although you use it, you still have some budget to use.
bu da güzel bir durum.
This is an advantageous side for us. Because we are generally using GPU. In CPU, there might be some empty places to use. Because when I would like to optimize it, CPU is not working as well as GPU.
Şimdi bu temel olarak birinci aşamamız
This is basically the first step. And there is a disadvantage of VFX. To the particle systems, physics is connected. You can give some collision. For example, if you would like to have an explosion effect, the particles coming out of your effect can be affected from physics. It is the advantageous side. And I saved it. And the second thing I'd like to do is to make a Pro Builder, and you can also manage Pro Builder from the package manager. What do you reach? From tools, you see Pro Builder. It is in the same place in every platform, and when you click on Pro Builder window, you can see the Pro Builder window here, and I put it here. With Pro Builder here, when I click on the plus shape, new shape will be opened, and you will see the primitives that I will be able to produce. Maybe you use Pro Builder or MaxMile while doing that. While prototyping, Pro Builder is really very useful to use without using any third parties. You can directly come here and you can do your task as fast as possible. There are really a great amount of contents here, and it's newer version. Pro Builder is in the first place. But maybe later on we're not gonna download Pro Builder later on. Why? Because it is being used as a prototype. You see the primitives such as cube, sprite, and you can see some primitives here on the shape. Yeah, there are also some extended primitives as well. I'm gonna use a pipe right now.
I will give 1 meter equals to the width and 20 centimeters of thickness, and around 15 to 20 you can assign the number of the parts where you will put the output as the if you're going to use it as the end product. I press the build, and after this I'm writing the external pool here. Move to loom I pick, and if you press constantly to V, you can make your selection from the Y vertex. And I want to centralize it in Pro Builder. What you produce is close to circle parts, and these are not in the middle of the pivots. You can see where the pivot is. Instead of pivot, we will centralize them. After centering the pivots, we are entering O, X, and O, Z here to send the coordinates, and Y is 0.35 because this pool is 75 centimeters high, and in the middle it will be 0.35. It's totally on the ground now, settled on the ground. And actually the water seems to be sparkling out of the pool, but we can change it a little bit, no problem. And here actually there will be a fake image. I will produce one more piece, I click on new shape, and now I will produce a cylinder. 0.75 it will be the outer diameter. There will be 15 arches and its height will be 50 centimeters. And I say build and it will be put upon this. I'm centering it again. Center pivot I clicked and again it will be sent to Z O and XO, and in the middle it is settled, and I will expand it a little bit further with the scale tool. Sorry, I just picked plane. It's not plane. This is the cylinder surface. Here there is a small overlapping part, but it doesn't matter. This is a simple pull image you can see. And from here I will go to Pro Builder and pick face selection. I have selected one face and clicked on below, and all the faces on a single part can be selected with this. I will merge all the faces here. Less triangle means greater performance for good textures. And then I will choose a multi-duplication here. I pressed on the duplication and water pool. I enter and I will just draw it to upper part. There's a cylinder at the bottom and water of the swimming pool on the top. Let's check it again. The visual effect. Yes, the visual effects will be changed a little bit. Now let's continue with the second action. This is the pool water and the content will be changed. I will make it look a different thing. It will look like a water of pool. There are a few textures I'm going to use for this. One is a texture similar to the water pool. I downloaded it from the internet. After the activity, actually, I will upload it to the book. You can also use it. I am writing pool water here. Yes, such a texture can be seen here. You can use any of them. Apart from this, and there is also a spreadsheet animation. In order to simulate the small droplets, I am selecting one. There are some samples we can choose them. Actually, the direction is not correct. We need a view from the top, but you can use it also. It's not that important to use it because I will share the project with you after the event. Here, first I'm going to form a VFX graph for the borders. Excuse me, it will be a shader length. I click on create shader VM graph and I rename as in the water. Click twice on it and it will show you directly. I am closing the other graph, by the way. The shade graph is here. This area is the area for producing material, and these materials can be movable ones because you can also add functions here. I will start adding some functions here. At the basis, of course, we need a droplets. We have one droplet here. This is a texture, and plus we have
Suyumuz var.
water. Where is it?
Okay, burada texture içinde.
And this is the water texture. It's okay. These are the two basic textures, and with the different graphics, we will merge them. One will be providing a feeling as if the water is dropping. The other will show the water itself. And to start from here, first of all,
Aşağıda tile edilmiş map'imiz var.
we have a tiled map. You can see it. What's this function? You may have or not have used it. Actually, frame by frame, an animation is simulated here. What kind of a simulation is there? There are droplets. And if there is a normal mechanism here, in visual terms, it will provide a depth feeling to you. And we will not do it in this way. In order to animate this, we will use node section in the shader graph, and there is a flip-flop node here. This flip-flop node is doing flipbook as titled. In the past, actually, we used to have some notebooks to do it flip-flop. We used to draw the same image one after another and turn the pages rapidly. It is like this, and this is not moving at the moment. We need to make it move. We need to animate it. From the bottom, we are going to start, and tile is one of the nodes that we will frequently use. In time, we can add some changes. You can see that there is no behind input, or else there's a CP line. If you want to use the time slowly or more rapidly, and integer input can be put here, and then if you write multiply here, you can bind the time and integer with the multiply, and multiply these two elements. For example, let's multiply it with 5, but there is no concrete image, of course, yet. Then I need to subject them to round for a more smooth output, and then I am binding it to the UV channel. My flipbook is now bound to time. They will run simultaneously. I'm sorry, it must not be on UV channel, but it must be on tile, because I'm changing my tiles. Save it again, and this is the bottom part. We'll continue like that, and for the upper part, at the upper part, actually, in this area, in my sample texture, 4x4 area is present. Before doing it, I will show you our 4x4 frame from spreadsheet. Here I am again saying create node, and we have a node called tiling offset. Tiling and offset mode is typed for M4 for the X and Y, and here I am putting a fraction node here. It may even be smaller. Yes, when we send 4 to 4, there will be 4 squares or 4 frames. Now I am also binding it to the flipbook UV.
Evet. Şimdi
Okay, now
bakalım herhangi bir eksiğim var mı diye bakıyorum.
I'm checking it out whether there is any lacking part or not.
Bu kısım bu
I
şekilde
think
buradaki.
this
Şimdi
part is ready.
grafiklerde
Now
eğer
for the
belirli
graphics,
özellikler
if you want to work in a clean manner, just store them, store the certain things in certain fields. The screen is small, but I am going inwards and outwards to see everything.
diğer
Now let's deal with the other textures. I mean the main image of
normalde bu
ours.
arada
Under normal conditions, if we were to use a texture, a single texture, what would the image be looking like? I am binding this to Pro and save it.
buradaki havuz
Then the water of the pool will be like
bizim ürettiğimiz bu in the water'ı apply edebiliriz.
this, and in the water can be applied to the saved image.
Şöyle yapalım.
Let's do this way.
Bir tane material üretelim.
Let's create an MTO and
Sonrasında
and material and call it in the water, and I'm again selecting in the water from the shader graphs,
yaparken doğrudan
and when I select it, the shader graph is directly appearing, and I can take it and transfer it to here, and as you see, it's only the texture here. Now I'm turning back to the previous texture.
burada öncelikle biraz bir noise
Here, I want to use some noiser. Actually, I want to show the water as if it's
Bunlardan biri de
moving or flowing.
şimdilik
One of my nodes is
başka bir
position,
modum daha var.
and there is another node of mine
Hareketleri, rastgele hareketleri sağlamak için
which ensures random movements.
şimdi
And there are some noise for it. I am picking simple noise here,
değil boron
and let's skip the simple one and choose Voronoi. These provide different outputs, and
göreceksiniz burada
you will also see it in this area.
olduğu zaman.
Different outputs will be seen here,
Bu arkadaşların yerini değiştirmek istiyorum.
and I want to exchange the locations of these two. They are moving, you can see, and I want to change the angle of sets here. Actually, it is a time dependent variable. It may be changed in time. And if I am to do this, I just click right and create new, and then I will add multiply function.
Zamanı
I am binding time to the first one in multiply. I can manually type the value for multiply, and then I will bind UV as the position, and I will change the Voronoi position according to the multiplication value I provide. And here what happens, do you see? There is much movement.
dolayısıyla böyle bir
Therefore, it is such a mode.
bunu
And this
add noduna ekleyeceğim.
can be added to an add node, and in the add node actually binds two nodes, and with my position I am taking the value from Voronoi and bind it to the position, and in real terms the position places are changed with this output. Now you can see that my position can be changed, and here I want to change my vertex normal and vertex position. If you are changing the position, the texture that I'm using will change in all the points. And of course, it's also possible. And I am nearly done. And here I will not bind the sample texture directly, but I will add another node here. It is called blend. There must be a base for this blend node and also a template, sample texture. I'm binding these two to the blend and I will change the mode now. Instead of color, yes, color dodge is possible. In this manner, I will save my asset. And I can also preview from this window. Now the blend is bound to albedo. My textures are not moving. I will check for the reason.
Şöyle bir sahneme bakayım. Şu an noktacıklarım hareket etmiyor.
Now my dots are not moving. I will check it. And there is nothing else to do about the work. There must be something about my time node.
Evet. Flip okuma bir girdi sağlamadığım için çalışmıyordu bakın.
Yes, my flipbook is not working because there is no input. The width and height is required so that the X4 matrix will move. And from 1 to 16, there will be values. Therefore, the latest output will be like this. And moving now, and I'm saving it. We can slow it down, but the output will be like this. As if there are droplets occurring, you can also add some other details to the graph. Less droplets or more droplets can be provided. You can also randomize further. This is not a huge node graph, but it is ideal for the restricted times. And I will also add some visual effect here. And you can see the result. There is one primitive pool here, and there are particles touching the pool. Such a touching effect is felt. And what else we can do here? The visuals of the water can be made move through mathematical nodes again. And the greatest advantage here is animation. Without producing animation and without facing the challenges of the animation, you can add an effect stripper and you can produce such game objects for you. You can also use it for the other project. It is an optimized system and involves many items. You can add it to your workflows. Is there any questions?
Sorular varsa arkadaşlar ben hepinize katıldığınız için teşekkür ediyorum.
Evet, sorumuz.
If there is no question, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.
Çok teşekkür ederiz Tolgay.
Thank you very much, Tolgay, for your participation and for your workshop.
Teşekkür ederiz, sağ olun.
I'd like to thank.
Ağırlamak isteriz mutlaka yine.
Hope to see you again in our session. See you and goodbye.